Hi folks, welcome back into the channel. Mozza here, and I have something new on the channel for you today. So this is a new sporadic series that you'll see whenever I feel like diving into something new, and I'm calling it my rookie reviews. Basically, think of this as a try before you buy, be it an NFT metaverse game, or be it just general gaming that I'm interested in. The rookie review will give you an idea of what's entailed, and I'll put my money up so you don't have to, and you can decide watching this if it's something you want to get involved in. Today we're looking into horse racing, because in the metaverse there are a few different horse racing sims, one of which is ZED, which we're looking at the moment. And the reason I've chosen ZED is because it's been the longest established, it is the easiest for someone to enter in terms of monetary values. You don't need to spend big to get into it, unlike some other games out there. Looking at you, Michael Owen. And it's got an element of realism to it, even though, as you'll see, the horses themselves are all computer generated type styles. But we'll get to that as we go along. Let's dive right in, shall we? Remember, and do me a favour, if you are enjoying my content, if you enjoy this video, consider hitting that like down below. Also, the big red subscribe button is waiting for you, so you never miss a video of mine going forward. This particular video should have been out last week, but unfortunately, this guy got COVID. I'm fine now, don't worry. I had pre-recorded it, but this microphone was muted. Don't worry, I've checked it this time, so we should be fine. So, if you're into your horse racing, like I am, this could be right up your street. The way ZED works is simple. Horses are NFTs. You can buy said horses, you own the horses, and you enter them into races. The races can be free. Most free races won't have a prize pool attached though, or you can pay to put them in certain races or enter tournaments. The idea being, if you choose the right tournaments at the right level for your horse, and it's got a chance of winning, coming top 3, it'll get some kind of prize, and ultimately you could win money. But if your horse isn't going to be finishing top 3 in any of these races, you're probably going to lose overall. So how do you pick a horse to get started? I'll tell you what I did, I'll tell you the mistakes that I made, and hopefully that'll give you an idea of how you want to get started if you look to dive in feet first. And I'll also show you some footage of some races that I took part in, including one where my horse did win and got a wee bit of money back. Ultimately, I did make a loss overall from when I was trying it, and I'll let you know at the end if I will keep going with the game itself, or whether I was just happy to dabble a little bit. So, first things first, in ZED, you have 4 different bloodlines of horse. Think of this as the breed, where they come from. It's almost like a caste system of horses. So, in order, you have Finny, which is the lowest, you have Buterin, you have Shabo, and you have Nakamoto. So Nakamoto is the most prestigious bloodline. That doesn't necessarily mean your horse is going to be the best though, because there are so many more things that go into this. You will find though that Nakamoto horses for the same type of horse will be more expensive, and all the way down to Finny, which will be the cheapest. I wouldn't discount Finny just because it is the cheapest, because there are kind of categories within these 4 bloodlines. We'll get into those now, because the next thing is their genotypes, and genotypes give you an idea of their prestigiousness, is the easiest way to explain it. So any original horse in ZED has a Z1 genotype. What that means is they're an OG, or they've been bred from a male and a female OG horse. Because if you, and you can breed, by the way, horses in this, but you will need to pay a breeding fee, even if you own both horses, so bear that in mind. But if you put a male horse, say it's a Z4 horse, with a female horse, again a Z4 horse, their offspring, you add those 2 Z numbers together, and that horse that's born would be a Z8 horse. So it gives you an idea of how far away from the original cast of horses in ZED your horse is. If you're looking at a Z256, that apple's fallen quite a bit from the 3, and it's probably less likely to be a good prestigious horse. Having said that, that genotype, that Z number, is less important than the next thing. I arguably would say this is the most important thing to look at when you're picking your horse, and it's a mistake I made now that I look back on things. We're going to look at the breed types at the moment, because say you have an idea of what you're looking for in terms of the bloodline. I personally picked Shabo, which was the second highest behind Nakamoto. I didn't want to put loads of money in at the start. I decided I wanted a Z10 or less, but this is where I made a mistake with the breeds, because in order, you go from Pacer, which is the worst, do not buy a Pacer, all the way up through Cross, Elite, Exclusive, Legendary, and finally Genesis. If you can get a Genesis horse at a good price, you're probably going to sell it on for a profit. Genesis horses are really sought after in ZED Run, because if you put two Genesis horses together and they breed a kid, they will produce a legendary horse. Now, that's a guaranteed thing as well. I'll show this chart on the screen just now, just to explain how the breeding works as I explain these breeds. But I went for an elite horse, and with the benefit of hindsight, I should have gone for exclusive. Paid a little bit more, because you will see most races at the lower grades will be won by exclusives. And that's what I've noticed in my, say, 25 odd races that I took part in ZED Run, and probably go north of that actually by the end of things. But elites is probably the minimum level you're looking to get involved at if you're actually wanting a chance at success, in all honesty. As I mentioned there, you can breed horses and there is a cost involved. That cost also takes into account the breed type. So the better horse breed that you have, the more expensive you'll find it is to breed them. If you have a female horse, you can obviously put out to get a stud to find a male horse, and you can pay a fee to link up with that male horse. If you own two horses, male and female, in your own stable, you can just sort the breeding yourself and pay the fee itself. Or if you have a male horse that will be in demand, you can put that out to stud and get fees from other breeders who have a female horse that they're looking to get offspring for. There's a quite well developed system for this in ZED. The best way to get more information or to ask any questions is to jump into their community Discord, which is busy, and they have a great community in ZED. You'll also find on Twitter that it is a positively bouncing community, which is always a great sign for a game like this, that it relies on people jumping in and putting their money where their mouth is to make it a success long term. So you've done this, you've got your research underway. I will pop a link down below to a couple of things that I found really useful, including Sanguine's Stables Beginner's Guide, and you've decided what you're looking for. My personal approach for this, if I was starting again just now, would be Z10 or less. You can set all these criteria on OpenSea or any other site that you're buying off, by the way, just so you're aware. But Z10 or less, exclusive, Buterin or Shabo would be what I'd be looking at. And from there, hopefully you'll be able to find a horse at a decent price that you can buy in. And my big recommendation, if you are going to get involved with ZED, is start cheap. Buy yourself a horse that not necessarily is going to be a world beater, but you can afford early doors and you don't mind selling off potentially a little bit of a loss after learning the mechanics and learning the game. That's exactly what I did. My horse cost me 0.03 ether, and I think that was a fair price, to be honest, for it. Miss LFG was the name. I have now sold it on. I made a slight loss when I sold it on, but it was the right thing to do, because I had a look at other horses that were more expensive that potentially would be winners, and I didn't understand the game yet. So I would absolutely recommend, if you are going to get involved, bear in mind, not financial advice, get yourself a cheaper horse to start and learn the ropes, learn the mechanics before you go head first into throwing money at it, because you don't have any regrets. I say the same thing every time when it comes to first gaming, but make sure you are in the best possible position if you are going to get involved, so that you don't lose your money unnecessarily. There is other factors involved with horses. So coat colour can have an impact. The colour of the coat of the horse can give it either a boost if it's a super coat, which means that the male and female horse, when they've been bred, have had the same colour, and luckily you've managed to get a horse that's been produced from that with what's called a super coat, can give them a boost. The colour itself can give them certain traits. It can make them calm, it can make them boisterous. Again, further information will be in the links down below to explain that side of things. But as with the blood types, I don't think the coat has a massive impact compared to the breed type. I think the breed type is your be all and end all main consideration when it comes down to picking a horse, but all of these things obviously will need to be taken into account. So, you've decided what horse you want to buy. You go into OpenSea, you put your money in. Bear in mind this is based in Polygon, so it's a layer 2 Ethereum blockchain, means you'll need to move money over to it if it's sitting in Ethereum, and there will be a cost for that. There'll be gas fees to move it into Polygon, but once you have your money in Polygon, you do not pay any gas fees generally. It's minuscule, it's less than a penny for every transaction, so you won't notice it, and that gives you a little bit more flexibility to barter, trade. You'll notice the culture in ZED is to make offers as well. People very rarely just stump up the price that's asked initially. You will get DMs from big guys asking if they can make you an offer on a horse that you've listed at a certain price. That's not them being cheeky. That's the way ZED is. Very much like horse racing in real life, it is a bartering culture, and you just need to embrace that if you want to get involved with it, because you ain't going to change it. I mean, I guess you could call it horse trading. That's where it comes from, doesn't it? But you've got this horse in mind. Let's get back on track. What do you do when you buy that horse? So you made your purchase. You go onto ZED, onto the website. If that horse has not ridden in any races over the past couple of weeks, there was an update rolled out in terms of how horses are rated, you will need to enter 10 what are called discovery races. These are all free of charge and they all have prize pools. And what the discovery races are there for is to figure out what level your horse is at, how good it is. I went through these discovery races with my horse, Miss LFG, and I actually won one. It performed pretty well overall, but the main things to consider during these races are, one, you want to find out the ideal distance that your horse rides at. So if you have bought an unraced, unridden horse, you can also give that a name, by the way, which is a nice little side note that you can name your own horse if it's not been raced yet. But if it hasn't raced at all, or it hasn't raced in the last few weeks, and you put it into the system, try it at different distances. If you already know what distance it's good at, so if it had ridden previously and it's got, you'll see the history on the horse itself, you can stick to that because you'll know what it's good at, having a look at the past form. But you'll get to a kind of idea of where your horse is strong. Over these 10 races and a few prior races, I worked out that my horse was best over 2,400 metres. It was best when its fitness went down to around about 92%. Not sure why, it just was. And you'll get to know little idiosyncrasies about it, which is what I liked about ZED. There's clearly a lot of thought going into the different variables and the different ways you can learn about your horses. It does actually make you care about it as well, which is dead clever. You can understand why the community are so invested in the game, even if you will see some people a little bit miffed with this new system that came in with the discovery races. I will get into this because there is an issue as well that I'll explain. Basically, you had some horses at class 1, there are now 6 classes, class 1 being the best, 6 being the worst, that beat everything. They're really good, they're always up there, winning money, winning prizes. And when the discovery races came along, some owners were clever. They raced their horses at the wrong distance, a distance that didn't suit them, and suddenly they became a class 4 horse. And ever since then, all they've done is win all their way back up to class 1, earning loads of money in the process. Slightly gaming the system, but within the rules. Be aware that people will still try to exploit this, because it is a game mechanic, it's not a cheat, It is something that is there that can be taken advantage of. So you, if you so wish, can try and do this if you know what your horse is good at strength-wise. Say if it comes through at class 6 when it should be a class 3 horse, then it's going to be more likely to win races when you get into the paid side after your discovery races. But be ready to incur the wrath of fellow racers, fellow owners and fellow breeders. I personally just went for the strength of my horse when I went through those races. I managed to get it into class 3 after that, which I think is probably fair in all honesty, because it was competitive without threatening to win at that point. But I did see 1 or 2 races, and you'll see the footage as we go through this video, where I'm not going to lie, it didn't have a chance, and you could tell some horses it was up against were really class 1 horses working their way up. It was a frustration, but with these kind of games, you've got to expect people will take advantage of anything they can do to make a little bit of coin on the side. But long story short, I did enjoy ZED. It's not something, however, that I will be keeping going with long term. I may dabble now and again in future, but my personal view is that to be successful in ZED Run, you need to invest the time, you need to be a grinder in this game, because if you do not put the requisite time, research and investment into this, you're going to get outpaced by people who have already got massive stables. They've already got a culture in place. They already know what they're doing. You need to match that commitment to get your ability to the same level and to make some money. And it is absolutely possible for you to do that. But personally, it would take too much of my time, and I'd rather dabble in different things. If you want to go big on ZED, you're unlikely to have much time to dabble in anything else, is my takeaway from this. However, if you're watching this video and you disagree with me, please let me know, because this is a rookie review. By its nature, I've only given it a short go, in this case, for around about a month I was involved with ZED there, and as I say, I did enjoy it. It just wasn't for me long term, I don't feel like. But let me know your thoughts from what I've covered. Also, a couple other cool little things about ZED. It is very much a game still on the up. You'll see they've done some deals recently where there's integrations with NASCAR, for example. I got to race on the NASCAR track. There was a few other integrations in there as well. That can only be a good sign. There are competitors now as well though, because Pegaxi is one that you'll see referred to quite a lot. It has a similar look, it's newer. They're more based on Pegasus horses though, so it's a bit more in the fantasy realms. They've got wings, but they run, they don't fly. I don't know, I don't understand it. But I hope this has been useful to you. I've just given you a very, very brief overview. There's all sorts of information down below if you do want to get involved with ZED. And the community on Twitter and the Discord is great as well. So there's always going to be the help there for you if you need it. If you put a tweet out tagging a hashtag to do with ZED, people will jump in. I had it myself when I went out looking for a little bit of help from a couple of the guys. And YouTube is full of great guides from people that know what they're doing with it as well. So consider that before you jump in and buy your horse. If you are going to jump in, let me know how it goes. Good luck to you. And I will come back with another one of these rookie reviews pretty soon. I've got a couple of games in mind. If you guys have a game that you really want me to try, also tell me that in the comments. I'm looking at Riot Racers just now. I think that might be the next one, but I am open to different ideas. As long as it's something to do with a sporting field, the chances are I'm going to give it a go and I'll probably enjoy it. So let me know your thoughts. But if you have enjoyed the video, consider clicking that like button to help other people see what you've watched. Also, the subscribe button is there for you if you don't want to miss any videos of mine. Coming next on Saturday this week, I will have a Sorare video, which again will be my first video on that. I will explain what is going on with that at the time, but long story short, I've gone headfirst into MLS building for that, so keep an eye out for my lineup ahead of week 1 of the MLS season. Other than that, I hope you have a cracking day, a cracking week. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.